Oh, wow. It's another day here at Freeman's Garage. We're working on the abandoned 62 AMC Rambler Classic Deluxe again. And right now we're going to pull the transmission mount bolts. Well, technically bell housing mount bolts. The transmission's not bolted to the transmission cross member. The bell housing's actually bolted to the cross member. Let's go under here and work. Yes, I am toolless at the momento. Need to see what size socket do we need. All right, I made some guesses on socket sizes. Now what we're doing down here on this Rambler right now is we're pulling the transmission pan off. This is a Borg Warner push button Flash-O-Matic transmission, similar to some models of Borg Warner transmissions used in Fords. And the deal is this pan leaks, so we can't drive this car for the first time since 1975 unless we fix this leak. And we know that it's full of rotten transmission fluid, so we want to get that out anyways and make sure everything is clean in there. I believe there's a piece of linkage that we'll be able to make sure is fancy-free, footloose and fancy-free in there, and that connects to the carburetor. We can talk about that some other time. But we gotta pull these transmission mount bolts out to get this pan off. Now, we attempted to drop this pan in the previous video with this car. Man, how is a guy gonna do this? But these bolts right up here in the front, there is just no flipping way you're getting those things out. There is just no room. So we postponed that and we wrapped up finishing up our 100% rebuilt from scratch brake work. So the brake system on this car is now 100% done. And there's tons of other videos linked in the description, previous videos with this car if you need to get caught up on it. Now, so there's two bolts, one on each side that goes into the bell housing, and they go through this cross member. And we're going to attempt to remove those bolts so that we can put a jack underneath the transmission and lift it up a little bit so that we can get some wiggle room in between there, the pan and the cross member, so that we can get an extension up in there and get these bolts out. My guess is it's probably going to be a 3/4, so let's get that ready to go. Now, you know, a guy could drop the transmission cross member / bell housing cross member, but probably not going to happen with heat, and probably not going to happen without destroying this car. This is a solid car, but it's a unibody car. It's an all one-piece construction. And there's some of the hardware that holds this cross member into the unibody, and the front suspension is tied into it, and yeah, there's no reason to touch that unless we try everything else first to get this pan off. If you've seen all the videos already in the playlist for this car, for this project, then you already know what's going on, but somebody watching this doesn't, so I'm just kind of, you know, trying to keep everyone on the same page so we can all have equal amounts of fun. Oh gosh. So here's a better look at our mount. You can see there's the transmission, and then there's the bell housing right in the middle of your screen, which is bolted to the engine block. And that blown out rubber mount right there, that's got a bolt going through it from the bottom. And let me see if I can get some light up in here so that we can see what's going on. See, there it is right there. We should probably spray some WD-40 on that, some Whiskey Delta. But there's one on each side. It works even better if you shake it up first, in my opinion. Okay, so Let's confirm. Is it 3/4? It actually might be smaller. Oh yeah, it is smaller. So it's our socket that rolled away from us. Yep, welcome to my world. This is a fairly low sitting car. The rear end is up on jack stands right now for some extra room. Jack stands and a floor jack underneath for safety. And the front of the car is just sitting on the ground. Oh, it's even smaller. Well, it's guaranteed to be 5/8. Has to be. And what, you know, look at these pants I'm wearing. I look like I borrowed these either from Alan Jackson or a teenage girl. Guy needs to make a trip to the thrift store and do some shopping. Okay, so it's 5/8. Okay, got both sides lubed. Alright, let's start by using my bad arm first. In the most painful position. Oh, we are lucky. It already came loose. Unless it was the whole giddy up turning on us. Oh, good golly, Miss Molly. Couldn't have been any easier. You know, I don't know where you're watching from, but I really want to know if this car was from New Jersey, if you're in New Jersey, or say you're in Rhode Island or Maine or whatnot, if this car came from your neck of the woods or New York, you think that nut would have just come off like that? Probably wouldn't, would it? Got a washer in there too. Okay, there are 2 washers. All right, now I'm going to get the driver's side one, low profile creeper. It's never enough room in this garage. You know, I'm not a dancing dog. Sometimes I feel like I'm up to my armpits in just things in this garage, but whatever. Let's get cracking on this, because I want to see if this transmission's going to work. You know, it's not always a game of backgammon. It's not always easy. I'm not too cramped underneath this car, but there's also not a ton of room for me. I feel like I'm in the belfry of a one-room schoolhouse. Okay, here we go. Got it. Nailed it. Second washer didn't want to come off at first, but we got it now. That's like cleaning carpets for a living. Too easy. Maybe it is a game of backgammon. Okay, safety jack going away. We'll be fine. Well, I can't see anything doing this on the driver's side because of that muffler. So let's send the jack on through to the other side. So yeah, the question is, where do we want to put a jack under this? Let me get my fat noggin up in here more. Here's the torque tube. Here's the tail shaft of the transmission. 99.9% sure that's aluminum. If I took a second, I could tell you for sure. But either way, I think the best place to do it, well, we're not going to put any pressure, so it's not as if I'm really worried about cracking anything. Although the closest to the back of the transmission, you know, would be the best thing. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. Minimize the risk. Minimize the risk. let's not park the jack on top of the tools that we need to get the transmission pan bolts out, because, yeah, that wouldn't make any sense. I'm just getting this set up and then I'll get in better position. Unless you want to pump the jack and I'll guide this in place. Oh yeah, you don't have arms. Dang it. Let's just see what happens. Okay, well, immediately the whole car's lifting, so that's not good. Bring it back down, and let's go back up again. And let's see if we can't kind of wiggle the transmission mounts away from, away from the cross member, or our bell housing mounts, if you will. A very slow back and forth wiggle. Oh, okay. Yeah, you might have seen it before me, but I just saw movement, just saw separation between the transmission pan and the cross member. So let's keep going and see what happens here. Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. See, we're separating. We don't want to go any more than we need to because we don't want to put a bunch of unnecessary pressure on components. And eventually the fan will probably touch the radiator. Okay, let's see where we're at now with room. I threw this big pry bar under here in case we were going to need it, but I don't think it's going to be any use now. Yeah, there's definitely more room right now. We might be able to get these bolts right now with a swivel, because a swivel might fit in here now. I'm going to grab one. Well, what's going to mess this up is I got a million adapters. So I go to grab a swivel, and of course it's a 3/8 drive. Well, let's keep jacking. Okay, we got even more room now. I'm not trying to take 10 million years to do this, but I'm also trying to, my voice cracked. I'm trying to jack the car up, or jack the transmission up the least amount possible. Let's just go back to just the socket. I gotta get some more light up here in the right place. Oh, that's so close. Actually, you know what? Hold on, I got an idea. Okay, I'm gonna stick this green light right there. It's got a magnet on it. I'll stick it right to the jack because that way I won't knock it over. That's one of the reasons I love those magnetic lights. Okay, well, that didn't work. Okay, my idea didn't work. Okay, I'm gonna jack up a little bit more. Okay, we're up a little bit more. Oh, that right there is very close to going on. I think we need to go back to our little extension. I bet if we had a little bit shorter extension, or maybe a 1/4 inch drive deep well 1/2 inch socket. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, well, okay, I'm going back to just the socket, short well socket. Let me try something here. Oh! Oh, we are kind of on a bolt. There's no way that's not gonna work. That's as close as we've gotten so far. We're almost there, man. I can feel it. Let's see if we can get it to go higher. Okay, we did. Good. Okay, so I'm just swapping back and forth between different bits and pieces here. Seeing if we can't get this. It is so darn close. Okay, yeah. You see the dirt dauber nest start coming down? That's what we needed right there. That's what we needed right there, son. You see, now I know that we can go a lot further, a lot faster than I was thinking maybe we'd be able to. Or, I was just being careful. Okay, we are on a bolt. Oh, we're listening that we're not completely on though. We need, here's what we need. We need, it's like right in a spot where a deep wall socket's too long, short wall socket's too short. The shortest extension is too long. I think at this point, going up any higher isn't going to help us. Okay, I got another idea. Changing, rearranging. I'm going to move this light up to there. Aha! Woo! We are in like Flynn! The question is, though, is that going to work for every single bolt across the front of the pan? I don't know, we'll find out. If that doesn't get us all the way across the front of the pan, I got another idea we'll try. This is a 1/4" drive ratchet, which is a lot smaller than a 3/8 drive ratchet, which we got up in place right now. And this is what I was expecting to be what would end up working out for us, and it would be a 1/4". But from doing everything we just did, I did notice that this 1/4" drive extension on this 1/4" ratchet with this 1/4" drive 1/2" socket, this almost fit in there before we even got the transmission up as high as it is now. But this extension was just a little bit too long. So here's my idea is, sorry I bumped you there. This is my idea. Take this 1/4" to 3/8 drive adapter, and then take this 3/8 to 1/4" drive adapter, so 1/4 to 3/8, 3/8 to 1/4, and then put this 1/4" drive 1/2" socket back on, and that essentially gives us an extension that's shorter. So this is what we're going to try if for some reason we can't fit that whole 3/8 drive swivel setup we got going on all the way across the front of the pan. You know what we're going to do though? Is we're going to pull this out, and we're going to set this back down, because look around the edge of the transmission pan. Yes, everything under here was already covered in transmission fluid, and the pan was already leaking, but after we took these bolts out in a previous video, and then, well, in the previous video when we took these bolts out here, and then we got stuck there, so we had left all this for the time being. Well, when the car sat with these bolts out, fluid started coming out from between the bottom of the transmission and the pan. So that tells me that there's a lot more transmission fluid in here than I thought there was. This pan is probably full. So let's pull that. The reason why we're lowering this down to do this is because I want the pan to be, there you go. You see the weight of the engine and the transmission has got the car squatted down to its ride height, and so that way the transmission pan is not like this, you know. So I want to make sure we get as much of it out as we can. You know, minimize the spillage message. Not message like I sent you a message, like whatever. Would you be surprised if I told you that I'm not sure what's going to happen when we crank on this? Would that be a surprise? Good thing there's no oil in that. Wow. That was dramatic. Yeah, it's a good thing we're taking this pan off. We're a little goopy in there. had to ditch a layer. Gets hot in February in Texas. We'll let that drain for about 5 minutes or so. I don't want to wait forever. But if the car was up on one of those things that holds the car up in the air so you can stand straight up underneath it, oh, we would just drop that thing and just get it done, right? But when you're under here like this, oh my God, oh, something popped. Yeah, it's just gonna go all over, guys. So we'll just let it drain. It's showtime. Let's put this plug in without dropping all this into the pan. Let's put this in so that we're not dripping transmission fluid on our arm. That would be just completely pointless when all you gotta do is just put a plug back in. Okay, let's move that so we don't drop our tools in it, because you know what'll happen. Aha! Ha, 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 ha. We did it. We got one. Now in a minute here, when we get this pan off, not only are we going to get to see what it looks like inside, as far as, who knows, possible damage or missing pieces and parts or who knows what, or it might be pretty mint in there. We're going to get to see all that, but we're also just going to get to see inside this contraption, which is going to be fun. And also, when we get the pan off, I will be able to see the complete shape of the pan, and then we'll be able to make sure that we're getting the correct transmission pan gasket. Originally, I was thinking we would RTV it, but I decided we'll go with the gasket. Okay. Even with all this room, we still don't have a lot of room. Okay, well, we're going to drop that right in this pan, I know it. Well, look at the fluid that came out of there in a second, too. And I just noticed something interesting about some of the hardware we took out. We'll look at that in a second also. Alright, I'm getting under here at the creeper on this side because the jack's on top of our low profile creeper. So we got 4 bolts on this side, and then there's one more front bolt in the driver front corner there. I left that last bolt, thread it in a little bit, so that way when I pop the pan off here, the pan does not go flying like Pat O'Brien. And I ain't lying, or I'd be dying. I'm not even trying. Okay, I'll stop. Oh, hold on, I'm gonna grab a rubber mallet. This is actually made for installing flooring, but we're gonna use it for this. Oh, come on. All right, hold on, I'll be back. Ow. I don't have enough room. This would be easier if I could actually swing at this thing. This pan's really on there. If D-Day was doable, this is doable. Okay, I just put one bolt in very loosely on this side. So now we can pop the driver's side loose and still not have it fall into the oil pan and flip upside down and all that stuff. Of course, nothing's gonna fit over here because of the exhaust. Isn't that just the truth with everything? It's always the exhaust. If you're gonna do this with a screwdriver like this, you really gotta make sure you don't bend the pan or gouge the mating surface like I might have just done. Hopefully not. Nothing sandpaper can't fix. Get your kicks en route. Come on, help me out here. Audience participation. There you go. Be a man. Ah! Ah! Oh. It does not look good in there, my friend, to be honest with you. Oh. Wow. Yeah. Oh, come on. Oh. Does that look like water? Don't be alarmed by the color of what's in the pan because there was some residual used engine oil in there. But yeah, that looks kind of like isotopes hanging from the roof of a cave. And that's got kind of a thin consistency, doesn't it? Like maybe that was water on top of the oil that we drained out. Maybe? I don't know. Let's get you up in there closer. The pan's kind of stuck in place because of the cross member. I could wiggle it and jerk it out, but I can also feel there's a lot of fluid in here. So I'm going to get this to drain a bit before I yank it out. Well, it'd be nice if the drain was on the driver's side. So while this drains, I'm going to take a cat nap. Okay, I think we're done waiting. Although it feels kind of like... Hold on here. It's got the feeling like this is going to flip right out of my hand. Maybe not. There we go. Okay, I'm going to pull the pan out from under the car and prepare yourself. It's a beaut. Well, no wonder why it didn't drain quickly. There's your problem. That is heavy. I'm going to put the pan back underneath because it's dripping. The drain plug is right here. You can see the marks where we were sticking the screwdriver through. And I'm literally doing the splits to reach this classic Stanley. Now, it's not like I need to clean that off, but yep. So there's no metal in it though. Oh, Lordy, Lord. Let's dip our head back underneath and I'll give you a top flight tour of the innards. Well, I see the filters. That's a filter. And that's a filter. So you may be wondering, what's next? Now that we can actually see the transmission pan in its entirety with our eyeballs and verify the shape of it and count the number of bolt holes, we can ski search for a gasket. Can we get one? So give me a few minutes here and I'll be right back. And just like that, we are back. I found a seller on Echo Bay who has been selling transmission parts for over 40 years. And he says he's got a warehouse stacked up and he's got a gasket for us. Part of the reason I had to do some research is because I'm actually not 100% sure if this transmission is a T35 or an M35 or 37 or 40 or 44. It's a Borg Warner, very similar to, well, we could get into Fords on that. If you're familiar with FMX transmissions, you might be familiar with these. I think some of the FMX transmissions have some of the same internal components as these Borg Warners, but a different case. It's hard to say, I'm not really 100% sure, but we have a proper gasket coming for this pan, and it'll be here in about a week. Please believe that every single fiber of my being wants to get this pan back on and test out this push-button transmission for you right here in this video, but it's going to take me a very long time to clean that. We got to wait on the gasket, and I got a kid to keep alive, and that's what's most important to me. So here's what we're going to do. We are not going to clean that pan out. We're not going to clean out the transmission. We're not going to do any of that right now because this car cannot sit in here for a week, blocking everything else from happening here at Freeman's Garage. So we're going to throw the pan back on the transmission and push the car out the door, and without cleaning anything, because the car's going to be out there for about a week with essentially no gasket now, and I want to just leave all that sludge and oil the way it is to protect everything inside there from the environment, from the elements, from moisture, from humidity. I mean, that does make sense, right? I'm sure if it doesn't, you'll let me know in the comments. I'm going to throw this thing on. We are lucky.